it looks way better than last week.
Morning, everybody.
Morning.
Sorry we're all disheveled as usual. Eric is not here. He is still sick, recovering from COVID. Again, keep him in your thoughts and prayers if you wouldn't mind. I'm sure he would appreciate any support that you could give him. All right, I guess we just jump right into it. Today, let's talk about some news. Toyota this week announced, because of the chip shortage, which deepens the problem globally, they've largely been immune to it, but it's finally starting to hit them. They're planning on cutting production by 40%, new vehicles in September. They had originally planned on building 900,000 vehicles, and they're only going to build 540. So this is going to create even a bigger shortage or smaller days supply at the dealership. So if you're interested in getting one of those cars, you better get at it. I think one of the harder hit vehicles will be the RAV and the Camry. But yeah, the chip shortage is hurting everybody. But check if you're looking to get a new Toyota, get with your dealer and start seeing what arrangements you could make.
It's going to shrink the used car world again.
Yeah.
There's not going to be things coming back out of service.
Yep. By the way, happy Saturday.
Happy Saturday.
Says coffee with Rob and Bob, but he's drinking tea. Don't hurt him over that.
Don't judge.
Okay. One of the things I did this week, we kind of spoke about it last week with an announcement from Toyota and Lexus that they were putting a collision app together. So my wife Carol drives a 12 GX 460. And I'm like, okay, well, let's see what this thing is all about. So I went on the Lexus app and signed her all up. If you're out of, when you get a new vehicle today, I believe you get a 2-year subscription. So you don't have to pay. Naturally, it's a 12, so we had to pay, and it was $80 to sign it up. But one of the things, here's a handy dandy little picture of it. If I can get that like that. Timely emergency assistance with Safety Connect. From roadside assistance to auto collision notification to stolen vehicle locator, services based on your GPS location, Lexus is here to help. So if, for God forbid, that the vehicle's ever in an accident, they're going to know. They'll call her. All the stuff will happen. And in addition to that, I believe if there's a malfunction with the vehicle, the telematics inside the vehicle will alerts Lexus. It also alerts the Lexus dealer. You choose what dealer you want to be your basically hosting dealer, and they'll be notified as well. So, if you need to, you can call them and say, hey, this happened, and they'll be able to look it up, know what's going on, and either dispatch a tow truck or whatever it is that needs to be done. So it's a handy dandy app. It was $80. I think it's well worth it.
It's a good way to stay connected.
Yeah, well, you're definitely connected with that.
Yeah.
On the issue of owner's manuals, just an interesting little fun fact here. For vehicles, and again, this is out of a 2019 Toyota Camry owner's manual. And they got lots of bells and whistles in them, or they can, depending on how you've outfitted it. The front camera that looks through the windshield, if you have to have your windshield replaced, or even if you disconnect the battery, several things are going to have to be reinitialized. And here's some of the things that camera affects. PCS, pre-collision system. LDA, lane departure alert with steering control. Dynamic radar cruise control with full speed range. Dynamic radar cruise control. And automatic high beams. those are just some of the things that camera, and there's actually more things when you do a deep dive into the procedures that may have to be reinitialized or calibrated. It's not as simple as just disconnecting your battery and connecting it again anymore with some of these cars, right, Bob?
And you could have a need for this. It could be as simple as your battery goes dead in your driveway one day because you left something on, and now this needs to happen. Where back in the day, it was a jump start. If the battery was good, you just moved on, and now you're probably going to need a visit to get these things addressed, or you're going to lose a lot of features, and you may not even know until you need it, and you still may not even know. You may, back into something because you don't have all those systems online.
Right. There's, these cars are getting so advanced, and we're going to talk about a car that Bob was involved with last week. We spoke about it, and the saga continued through this week. But it's not. We're talking about a car that came in with a dented fender that needed a fender replaced.
Yeah, it was front end, but it was just a minor fender
The
bender,
bumper didn't
basically.
get replaced. It was just replace the fender, blend in both directions, and you would think it's a dent in the fender.
Yeah.
It's everything but a dent in the fender. And the reason we want to talk about it with you is there are so many shops today that don't take just the minute caution of scanning the vehicle and looking for issues related to that. It just so happens that when somebody backed into this fender, they also hit the tire. And if the wheel was like this and it hit the tire and it went like that a little bit, it did some damage that you wouldn't necessarily know happened, but has some pretty serious ramifications if not repaired. And we're gonna talk about that. It's not just replace the fender anymore. You would think it was just that simple. It's not.
No, there's a lot of information that you need to look at to make sure that it's just the fender. The same way that simple battery going dead can lead to a lot of things that may be offline if you don't go about it the right way. Had we not gone about this, our normal process, that car could have went out on the road, customer not knowing, but those systems would not be accurate, and they're all about safety. And if the information is bad, then you're not going to have that level of safety that car had when it was,
or worse, it could be. It's not only not going to be like it was before, it could be pointing you in the wrong direction or giving you bad information. And so we're going to talk about this. It was what, a 2016 Lexus CX, older vehicle, to today's standards. But every vehicle gets scanned, and there's a lot of shops that scan vehicles. We are probably the only one in Colorado that use the Lexus scanner, which also is the Toyota scanner. And that gives you a health report. It goes through and looks at some of the systems. But even that doesn't show you everything that you need to know when a vehicle is in a collision.
Right.
You also have to check steering angle sensors. So that's a separate system that does not throw codes or DTCs or dash lights or anything. Like, it wouldn't show in the health report that it was not operating as designed. You have to go into that system and it'll tell you what the degrees are. And it's supposed to be, they call it a 0-point calibration because it's supposed to be at 0. This car was at
6.0.
6 degrees off.
1 degree makes you start to look. 6 degrees, there's a for real problem. And we talked about this morning. It's like the cornerstone of building a building or anything. You need to start with good information. It can be math in school, anything. If you have one piece of information that's bad, now everything is off. And that's what was going to happen with this car. It was not going straight, but the computer took the information that was there, accepted it as being accurate. But in reality, it started with something that, should be nice and square like this. And we were here. and the end result is going to be the information it's using is inaccurate, and it's not going to operate as designed.
Yeah, it's so you have to go into these systems separately. Many of the aftermarket tools can do this, but you have to know that you need to do it. And to know that, you need to go into the factory manuals and understand what the vehicle has and what you need to do. So this 0 point calibration is one of those things. And to Bob's point, you got to start with something you know is good. The first place to start when you have 6 degrees off on the steering angle is you need to send it to the dealer and get a 4-wheel alignment on it.
And that you can go through Ford, Lexus, factory after factory. That's the base point for everything. It needs an alignment and it proves out a lot of different things. But then at least you have a point to start that's accurate, and then the computer can take the data and you can adjust from a centered 0 point.
But you have to know that what you're working with is right. So we sent it to Lexus. We got the alignment done on it, and guess what? Still 6 degrees off.
Yeah.
Because it's not it's a computer, it's a datum line, it's not like connected to the suspension per se. It's just telling the computer where it is, where the wheels are, and this thing would not get off of the 6 degrees off. And so what did the dealer end up doing? By the way, we're arguing with the insurance company the whole time. They denied an alignment right out of the box, which we could have already been down this road way before, now,
right,
if the insurance company hadn't denied the thing. But we were not letting the vehicle go. Even though it drove down the road straight and the alignment is perfect, this 0 point calibration is telling the other systems in the car that it's someplace that it isn't.
And we start when the cars come in. It gets that initial scan so we can see what kind of information we have in front of us, what things are affected by whatever collision they were in. The repair planner does a lot of homework going through all the factory information to see what's required. So we really started from the beginning with a lot of knowledge and said, we need to do this alignment. The insurance company did not want to do it. And we continued to scan and look at these numbers. And after all the repairs and even the dealer, we still weren't where we needed to be because we did not start at 0. So then we finally had to, continue to go back to the dealer until they could isolate a problem, which was the steering angle sensor. So that computer was never going to get that starting point, to work off. You have to start at the 0 so you have good information. And we never had that. So the scans and the homework that was done early on, that's what it was about. And when all was said and done, they finally got it to 0 with the new steering angle sensor. So then the computer had good information and all those systems could function the right way. And during this process, we saw some of the numbers that are affected with it. 1 degree, and this car was 6 degrees, at 300 feet down the road can be 6 feet.
Yeah.
So traveling at highway speed, 300 feet really isn't that much. On a bigger distance, 6 feet can become 12. And if you're in a parking lot and you're trusting these systems to guide you and back you up and do all the different things, 6 feet, forget about that. 1 foot could be scraping, the car in your own driveway, or running over a bicycle, or things that.
Yeah, and you're not going to know it's the car is just getting bad information, and it's giving you bad information. So your rear camera lines that make it go like this backing into a parking spot are really over here instead of over here.
Right, and it's when you start with bad information, that's what it's about. But when you start with everything accurate, like it is now, that customer came, she was happy. She knew that. That we were digging through this and trying to get, we weren't going to release it until it was correct. But the numbers are perfect.
Here's another little blip to the story. So the insurance company says, well, how do we know that they didn't buy the car like that? It could have been like that. They bought it used. It may have always been like that. And it just so happens that they were in earlier this year to have a bumper repaired. So no matter what we're doing, we go through this process every time. So I said, pull the file. it left here 4 or 5 months ago at 0. So we already established that at this point it was 0. Now it's 6 off. The accident happened. It's associated with the accident, and we were able to get the insurance company to cover it.
We established that on the first day with the first scan. That's why we started that. But it took some pushing and scan after scan to prove. We kind of had to prove our case like it was court to get the dealer, the adjuster, and make sure the customer still had trust in us that we weren't trying to delay this. We went on the road as bad as anybody, but it just was unacceptable. But it took a lot of going through the data that we had, which the scans that we do, it pays off.
This is why it's so important for you to choose a shop. Do the homework. Ask them, if they're going to scan the car, are they going to scan it with a factory scanner? What are they going to scan it for? Because even somebody that just does a pre and a post scan would not have picked up this problem. You need to go into this system. So Lexus basically tells us when we do this, after we do that scan, you do the 0-point steering angle sensor,
right,
and then you do the occupant safety, which is the passenger seat weight sensor. And those are different systems that are not going to show up in the health report. And you know what? Shops that say they do pre and post scanning, which there's only 47% of them. So you've got about a 50% chance of picking the right shop.
And what are they doing with that information? If we put that car on the road, no engine light, customer wouldn't know. They might hit something in their driveway and just think they were too close, and you'd never know. And I've scanned so many cars over the last few weeks. Almost none of them have an engine light on ever, but there's all kinds of information in there. Some it's real simple. After the repairs, it's all gone. We go back through, do our due diligence and look at it. We prove it out and we know it. But it's great for everyone. We never would have been able to do this without all that information that was just real clear to insurance at the end that here, this is what we prove. We can even go back and show you in prior, because how else do you prove that? That customer couldn't.
Yep. So, by the way, Juan, thank you for tuning in. I appreciate you so very much. And if you're on, send me a message so I can say, hey. But yeah, this is Bob. This is a fender job. It's just it's just a fender job. And that's the way most shops, especially your big conglomerate shops, would have approached it. It's just a fender job. Put a fender on it, paint it, ship it down the road. And this car got an alignment, got a new steering angle sensor, got the new fender that it came in for, and the car is safe.
And you said it earlier, if you take a shot in the tire, and it doesn't have to be a lot, because you're talking degrees, that car probably, small accident, the tire got pushed a little bit, took the alignment out, and now, we keep saying the same thing. It needs to start at 0, good information, and then the computer can do it. But like most things you do on your computer, if the information is bad, the end result's going to be bad.
Yeah.
But the scan was huge for the guest and for us also to do it. And, it was more work, but at the end of the day, the customer may have had to pay for that themselves down the line. If somebody say they were getting tires and somebody said, hey, we need to do this process, and they'd be paying for something that was probably generated at that accident. But all the data is a great tool.
Yeah.
For everyone.
And even if you're getting an alignment done, at some place, not the dealer, ask them to make sure your 0-point calibration is correct, because that's really should be part of doing an alignment anymore. Fixing these cars is not like just replace the windshield anymore, just replace the fender, just get an alignment, put new tires on it. There's a ton of things that go into fixing these newer cars. And what are we talking about in this 16?
Yeah.
They're very, very advanced. And even my wife's car, that's a 12, Lexus is communicating with this vehicle as she's driving and knows if something goes wrong.
Yeah.
Now that we spent the money to sign her up for that app. So I highly recommend using that app. And if you got a brand new car, install the app on your phone. It should be free. And anyway, that's what we got for this Saturday. You got anything else?
No, just to your point though about the app, that app is just another way that's going to protect you too, the same way that Nylons continued through this whole process so that guests could get that car back, the way it should be. That app is the same thing. You're going to have communication with the factory, and maybe that might give you some data that, like you just said, you're getting an alignment one day and there's more to it. There's going to be a lot of information on these apps that'll keep you connected to the factory, which I think you need to on these modern cars.
Yeah, on these especially.
Yeah.
And it's just all good stuff. Anyway, happy Saturday to you guys. Thank you to everybody that tuned in. Thanks for the thumbs up. I'm grateful. Please send Eric some good thoughts and prayers if you would, and hopefully we can get him to run this thing professionally instead of us to the Rob and Bob show.
You give the thumbs up like Eric's would do at the end.
Anyway, happy Saturday to you. Thank you again for tuning in. Hope this was helpful. See you next week.
Thanks.